we need to take action to protect Florida jobs. And we have a situation now, unfortunately, in our country where we have a federal government that is very much trying to use the heavy hand of government to force a lot of these injections. And you have a lot of folks that actually believe that that decision should be theirs, and that we believe in having basic medical freedom and individual choice, and that your right to earn a living should not be contingent upon COVID shots. Amen. And so that's what we need. Now, we were, when the vaccines came out, we worked very hard to provide it, particularly to our elderly, but we said from day one, we'll make it available for all, but we will mandate it on none, because ultimately we wanted individuals to make the determinations about what was right for them. And so you hear a lot about this OSHA mandate that's coming down the pike. That's something that I've said we're going to contest, and we will. There's also mandates that potentially could have devastating effects on the state of Florida. One is a federal contractor mandate. Anybody that contracts with the federal government, they're imposing this mandate, and that is already putting thousands and thousands of jobs in jeopardy. And so if you think about it, we have a lot of contractors in the state of Florida that help defense and space and all these key things. A lot of great employees, a lot of great Floridians are working in these things, and yet they're now getting kicked to the curb. But the companies are in a situation where if they don't comply, then they would lose out on getting any contracts, which is the basic way they do business. And so it's a really, really bad situation. So the Attorney General and we are working. Now, we want to contest that contractor mandate in court as well. We got to make sure we have the right plaintiff in terms of what we can do. A lot of these contractors probably aren't going to do it themselves because they know there'll be reprisals if they do it. But that has an impact on thousands and thousands of people in the state of Florida. So we're going to be doing that. We're also, when it comes out, going to be contesting the mandate that they're going to impose on hospitals through CMS, where they're basically saying if you don't do forced injections, then you lose Medicare, Medicaid funding. Well, none of these healthcare providers would be able to even function, particularly in a state like Florida where most of their patients are on Medicare. And so we think that's illegal, that's wrong, and so we're going to be doing that as well. And that's important what the federal government is doing, but it's not just limited to that. You have some of these businesses that are doing things that I think violate what's decent. You have some of these agencies in state government, or not state government, but local government, even though we've made very clear you can't fire people based on this, they're doing it. We have someone from Orange County Fire who's here, who's going to talk about what's happened to him. And a lot of the employers are not honoring the exemptions for religious beliefs or health concerns that are in federal law. And so we have an opportunity here to take additional action. I think we have to do it. I think we have got to stand up for people's jobs and their livelihoods. Yes. So what we're going to be doing, in addition to mounting aggressive legal challenges to federal mandates, we're also going to be taking legislative action to add protections for people in the state of Florida. And that's something that cannot wait until the regular legislative session next year. It needs to happen soon. And so we will be calling the legislature back for a special session. We want to make sure that individuals in Florida have their livelihoods and their jobs protected. And I think that this is something, when we were doing the last legislative session, it would never have occurred to me that we would be in the situation that we are with some of the insanity that's raining down right now. We took very strong action against things like vaccine passports. That was the right decision to do because we didn't want people to be having their freedom circumscribed based on showing papers. And we really nipped that whole issue in the bud here in Florida. But then now you have this where you have these aggressive potential mandates which could potentially lead to many people losing their jobs. Some have already been terminated, and we need to provide protections. One of the things that's frustrating to me is when COVID hit and we started to grapple with it, there was a fear that COVID was going to become ripe for litigation. That'd be a litigation bonanza, that someone would sue a business and say, well, someone got COVID while in your operation, therefore, and that's not how we've ever treated respiratory viruses before. It's a pathogen that's airborne. It's not anyone's fault. It's just something that unfortunately you have to deal with. But we didn't think that businesses should be getting sued over this, and so we provided probably the strongest COVID liability protection anywhere in the country very early on, and we were glad to do that, and I think that was something that allowed a lot of businesses to breathe a sigh of relief. But I must say that having done that, to now see some of those same businesses who were complaining about potential liability turn around and want to fire employees over these injections, I kind of feel like they're stabbing us in the back after we were standing up for them. And so we're going to be pursuing a number of protections for employees. First of all, if you think about it, if anyone has been forced to do an injection and has an adverse reaction, that business should be liable for that. Any damages, there's just, you have to do it because that's on them. It wasn't an individual choice. I also think this COVID liability protection that was given, the minute you go and start mandating, that liability protection is going to go by the wayside for each individual business that makes the decision to fire people or to do any of that. And I know some of them have already done it. So we're going to make sure that we beef that up. It's also the case some of these people have recently been fired, and then they're viewed as having been fired for cause, and then they're now ineligible for reemployment assistance. We're going to make sure that those are not for cause and make sure we provide people a lifeline. But at the end of the day, you shouldn't be discriminated against based on your health decisions. And so we want to provide protection for people. We want to make it clear that in Florida, your right to earn a living is not contingent upon whatever choices you're making in terms of these injections. And I think that that's going to go a long way to let people know that we have your back. Some people